News on Zayd Atkinson. The Boulder police investigated themselves and found that they didn't do anything wrong. There was no racial profiling, and so on and so forth. This is the third, possibly fourth time that Boulder police has claimed that they would put together a special task force to deal with shit like this. They have yet to do so. In addition, they want to have more training on de-escalation. We need enforcement of this de-escalation training. That's what we need. De-escalation training doesn't mean a goddamn bit of difference if police officers are allowed to escalate a situation and then ignored when they do so. On multiple occasions, just in the last year, Boulder officers have done exactly what they did to me. In specific, mind you, Officer Waylon Lolatai. This officer assaults homeless people. These homeless people are fucking obviously having their triggers fucking tripped by these obviously escalating officers who are going out of their way not to do their goddamn jobs, obviously have a hatred of homeless people, and then on multiple occasions they drag us, exactly like I'd been saying has been happening for years. They drag us to a mental institution and force drugs into us to justify their crimes. It doesn't matter what the law says if there's no goddamn enforcement. You can make it illegal for a cop to try to break a man's wrist in a hospital, but if you're not going to do anything to enforce that law when an officer tries to break a homeless person's wrist in a hospital, they're going to continue to do it. You guys want to be pissed off at me because I scream because I must be crazy. No, I scream because this social injustice needs to be fucking rectified. On multiple occasions, Officer Lolatai has repeatedly assaulted the homeless. When I was in Boulder County Jail back in January of last year, I counted 11 people with scars on their wrist from officers doing exactly what they had done to me. Put you into a severe amount of pain until your fight or flight kicks in, and then they charge you with assault. No, they're fucking assaulting you at that point. And you can't defend yourself. You are tied up. You're in handcuffs. You guys want to talk about your hands are tied? No, not even fucking close. You're holding on to the rope. And there are people's necks dangling at the other end of that rope. There are a lot of people who have endured this since, at the hands of that very officer. See, after what they did to me, and the public totally supported them doing it to me, they got a big head and went, hey, the public supports us doing this to the homeless. We'll do it every day. When I went into the Boulder County Jail in August of last year, yeah, they didn't want me around any of the other inmates. The two inmates that I had as roommates, one of them had the shit assaulted out of him. And his wrist had the same marks that mine had back in January. I don't bruise easily. The fact that I was bruised from that shows something. I have a very high iron content. When you go in and you have them draw your blood so that you can give blood, which I do, or have, not sure if I'm allowed anymore, They take a little bit of your blood and they drop it in this liquid solution and they see how fast it drops to the bottom. Mine drops like a rock. Lack of iron, that'll make you bruise easily. Now, not only are they saying that it's all right what these people did to Zayd Atkinson, they're also giving the officer the option of leaving and giving him a year's pay for what he did. Meanwhile, this is a guy in a house. Imagine what they're going to do to Samuel Leon Lawrence IV. This guy had the shit assaulted out of him for holding a camera. Meanwhile, by Officer Lolatai, by the way. Meanwhile, the guy who was holding the camera for Zayd Atkinson, nobody fucking touched him. Nobody even screamed back at him. I don't agree with the way the police handled this case. I don't agree with the way that Black Lives Matters handled this case. It shows racism on both sides, but it's not just racism. It is more importantly classism. See, when I'm carrying a backpack, it's easy to assume that I'm broke and therefore easy to railroad because I won't be able to afford a civil lawyer. But I can take that backpack off, and if I take that backpack off and dress nicely, well, then I don't look homeless anymore. However, black people cannot take their skin off and put it in the trunk of their car. They can't take their skin off and stuff it under a bush so it's not seen. Black people are arrested at a 5-to-1 ratio over their white counterparts in Boulder, Colorado. Homeless people are arrested at a 346-to-1 ratio. Mostly over crimes of survival, like using a blanket or urinating. Yeah, if you hold in your pee, it will kill you. That's a fact. What do you want me to do? Piss my pants? Hold it in for 8 hours? It's fucking pathetic. Michelle Rodriguez won her case against Lolatai a couple days ago by reason of self-defense. He assaulted her and then dragged her to a mental institution to be injected with chemical restraint. It's a chemical lobotomy is what it is. You're screaming because your rights have been violated. It's fucking bullshit. Now there's a few other people whose cases need to be reviewed. Like Mariah Johnson and Nancy Stopka. I'm on a Facebook ban right now. Imagine that. Because people don't like what I have to say. Oh, fucking well. It's my First Amendment right to do so. If these people are allowed to continue to harass, threaten, and intimidate me, and take my money, prevent me from being able to see my friends and family, you goddamn right I'm gonna speak up. I have panic attacks writing my story because there is so much to write. And there's so much that I need to put in there that I just don't have time to put all in there. Yeah, I have panic attacks. There's a lot of stuff that happened that I need to go back and take screenshots of. I have over 8,000 screenshots already. That's how much shit has happened. And it takes time to take those screenshots. And then, in order to post them on Facebook, I have to edit out a whole bunch of shit, which I didn't know to begin with. I didn't know how to do that stuff. But I had to show it anyway. I had to show the public what was actually going on. And it continues to go on. Police officers continue to rape people because they have badges and can get away with it. Even rape people so brazenly that they do so with their own dash cam recording it. That was Adams County. That's the same county where that judge twice, not once, but twice, went out of his way to ignore the fact that I couldn't show up in court. Now, the first time, yeah, that wasn't his fault. But the things that were on that protection order should never have been on there. There are things on that protection order, like that address and her phone number, that should not have been on there. That put Natalie, not only did that put Natalie at possibly undue risk, but that led to people getting the wrong idea about a lot of different situations. Like me, when I had to go to see Miss Peaches, I walked down Federal Avenue, or Federal Boulevard. That's because it's the closest straight shot to both Miss Peaches' house and also to Ken and Leah's house. In between there, that's the only straight shot. Zuni does not go all the way through. So then she's like, oh, that's just a few minutes from my house. Well, first of all, it wasn't her house that was on that address. It was her grandmother's, according to Danica. Second of all, if something had been done about this when it happened to me last January, if there had been public outcry, then these officers never would have been so brazen. All right, that's not true. That's not true at all. Because Boulder has a history of doing this to people. They brutalize the homeless and then charge those homeless with crimes for being brutalized. From being assaulted and charged with assault to having officers make fun of them and then arrest them for use of fighting words. Officer Steinman belongs in prison. A lot of people have told me that they wish that someone would kill Officer Steinman. That's not justice. This man needs to have an example served of him. If he's killed, then he gets to become a martyr, and they get to use his death to harm more homeless people. These guys go out of their way to paint the homeless people as terrible excuses for human beings by illegal and immoral means. Damn, that's some good stuff. The fact is, people are so frustrated with the fact that police continue to do this and get away with it that they are literally murdering police officers. When I say murder, I make a distinction between that and killing. The reason for that is because they're not killing the officers who did it. They're killing the first officer they see. They are so frustrated at these evil fucking cops and the police officers who turn a blind eye, they don't care. Just like to a police officer, every homeless person is the same. Well, to these people who are that frustrated, every police officer is the same. And rightly so. Fair and equal treatment. But there's a lot to be said about that as well. Paid vacation? Paid for a whole year before having to resign? Are you fucking kidding me? Officer Lolatai should have been taken off the force years ago. In 2014, when he assaulted that person in the jail, he should have been let go then and never allowed a job with the police department ever again. What he did to my wrist, my back, and my leg in the hospital in January 6th of last year, well, something should have been done about that. He should have never had the opportunity to do that. But those officers planned it out ahead of time. And that's pretty obvious by the way that they spoke to me. by the fact that they didn't care what I had to say. They just wanted to lock me up. They just wanted to put me away. Now, since I had tried to leave state to go somewhere safe, obviously they were pulling some shady shit with Adams County, which Adams County denies. And Boulder police deny. There's plenty of evidence to prove otherwise. With school shootings, these kids get so fed up with being bullied that they fight back. They speak up back. But then they get into the school, right? And they see that, there's these 7 assholes who are making their life hell. And they want to go in there and shoot specifically those 7 assholes. And they get in there and they realize that it's not those 7 assholes. Those 7 assholes didn't line themselves up in front of their shotguns like they wanted them to. But it's already too late to turn back, so they shoot whoever. Same thing with police getting shot. You want to shoot the police officer who did you wrong. But then you get seen with that gun by an officer. And it's not the officer who did you wrong, but it's already too late now. Now, isn't it? Bad police officers are getting police officers killed. The public is fucking fed up with this shit. But a lot of the public support it. The fact that this shit continues to happen in Boulder County, after I spoke out for years and years and years about it. Yes, the things that happened to me, the protocols that were used and twisted immorally and illegally to prevent me from having an honest day in court, to make it legal for them to assault me, to make it legal for them to drug me, I had spoken out against for years before it happened to me. Because I have seen it at least 100 times. And now that it's on the news, people want to downplay it. They want to make excuses. There were even people on some of them YouTube videos that were typing that Sammy Leon Lawrence deserved what happened to him. And that Zayd Atkinson deserved what happened to him. That's what he gets for looking like a homeless person. Can you imagine that? The public opinions that I spoke out about, and people are expressing those exact public opinions. Why do I call it a public opinion? Because of the severity of that opinion. What is allowed by that opinion. And why that opinion is created to begin with. If the majority of Americans think that all women are stupid, then that's public opinion. If the majority of Americans think that all whites are racist, that's public opinion. It's a majority thing. In order for it to be public opinion, it has to be majority. In order for someone to be judged unfairly by your bias, the majority has to be willing to go along with it and support it no matter what, regardless of the evidence. In my case, the police did everything they could to prevent that evidence from coming forward. And now with all of these other cases coming forward and being publicized, showing these people to be victims, whereas I was shown to be a predator and a bad person and so on and so forth. This is propaganda. Black Lives Matter pops out their propaganda about how Zayd Atkinson was racially profiled. He actually wasn't. Race did have a lot to do with it, because it's just assumed that a black man with dreads is homeless. That he's not going to have the money to fight this. That family's not going to be in his corner. And that's the thing with most of the homeless. Most of the homeless don't have families. They're going to do shit. For me, my dad didn't want to do anything to help me or my older brother out of homelessness. He felt that as soon as we turned 18, we ought to be fine and we ought to be able to work our way out of it. Meanwhile, my dad never had to. He has always had a second income. Not because he was working a second job, but because he was sticking his penis in somebody who had a job who lived with him. Kathy Johannick, that was his wife before Diane. Diane Bartlett, that's his current wife. Well, my dad was serving time in prison for 38 counts of cocaine possession with intent to sell. That's when Kathy Johannick married him, while he was in prison. Damn, that's good. So the police saying that they're going to put together a special fucking task force. Who gives a holy goddamn? There are no homeless people on that task force, but they want a representative from the police officers union. You know what this is? This is where people pay a bunch of money. A lot of people donate money to this, so that police officers who violate your civil rights and your rights as a human being can get a lawyer and get off scot-free. It's so that they can get, after they assault you or shoot your son in the head, they can get a paid vacation. And maybe they get fired. Maybe they don't, but they still get that paid vacation. The victimization of the homeless people needs to stop. The fact is, we need actual civilian oversight. We need homeless people on that board. Not just black people. Black people are arrested at a 5-to-1 ratio over these other folks, these white folks in the community. The homeless are arrested at 346-to-1. I don't need your bullshit.